there's any kind of magic in this world, it must be in the attempt of understanding someone, sharing something.
Alright, lads, let's get into it. I am Mal Foster, and you are listening to the latest episode of Dimed Out. Before we get into this episode, which hopefully is going to be interesting, entertaining, and insightful, I certainly know that it was for me when I sat down with Tanner and talked to him a few weeks ago. It was all of that, and hopefully that's going to come across to you guys too. But before we get into this conversation, I just want to take a moment to say that I know times have been heartbreaking. I know times have been infuriating. I know right now it's like we're just circling around the nucleus of a shitstorm. But I just want to say that I hope all of you listening, I hope you're doing as good as you can. And I mean that with the utmost sincerity. It's been awful of late. But hopefully you're doing as best as you can. Hopefully you're doing okay. Hopefully you're looking after yourself. You're looking after those around you. These are the things that are of the utmost importance. You know, these are the things that get us through. These are the things that move us forward. Looking after not just ourselves, but those around us. Hopefully that, hopefully you guys are doing, as they say, as best you can. This episode is going to be a little light in the dark, hopefully, and it's going to be something in which we all learn something. I know that I certainly did. This episode features the second guest to appear on Dimed Out, and that is Tanner Bananner, as I would say in my mixed mongrel accent. He refers to himself as Tanner Bananner. I think that's how he pronounces it, but yeah, Tanner Bananner. Let's call the whole thing off. Except let's not, because it's a really good conversation in which we talk about Tanner's project. And Tanner's project is just one that is deeply fascinating. Tanner has sold his house and is building a new home within a converted school bus. So we're going to dive into that. We're going to dive into the hows, the whys this has happened, what has attracted him to off-the-grid living in the first place, what he's doing to the bus, what his plans are, and we're going to branch off into other subjects as well, like fruitarianism, which I'll be honest, raising my ignorant hand up here, I had no idea what this was. It's kind of obvious when you think about it, and if you think about it for just a second, you probably have a good base idea, but we're going to dive a little bit deeper into that. Because this is, as I outlined in the first episode, this is what I want this show to be. What I think it could be, a window to different lifestyles and aspects of the human experience. And I think with this episode, we're definitely getting a bit of that, for sure.
I trust myself. I trust my feelings. I'm not going to try to be anything other than who I am anymore, and I hope you can accept that.
You're a guy that I've had in my peripheral for a long time, and I've seen so many interesting things pop up on your timeline, as it were, throughout the years. But recently, something caught my eye, and I was just like, okay, what's happening there? And that thing is, as they say, not to bury the lead, you've bought yourself a school bus, and you're in the process of renovating it and basically fitting it out to be livable. What's happening there?
What's happening there? Well, where to begin? Well, so I want to make it clear that I'm not renovating a school bus from top to bottom. I purchased a school bus mostly already renovated.
Yeah.
They had converted it for Burning Man, so it wasn't meant to be lived on full time, but it was meant to be livable for short periods of time.
Oh yeah.
And so the workload ahead of me is not that impressive. It's just a lot of time and a lot of just yeah, a lot of time and a lot of just simple construction work. Just um, oh, it's fun actually figuring things out. Like right now, I'm working on figuring out the security system that I'll have on the bus, and RVs are broken into crazy amount.
Yeah, I was going to ask about this. So yeah, let's kind of jump into this while you brought it up. What is your plan for a security system?
Yeah, so I'll be getting the Tattletale security system. It's portable, so it can go with you.
Mm.
Um, it's got motion sensors. It's got an alarm, blaring lights. It's got glass shattering sensors. It's a service that for $35 a month you can get immediate text updates wherever you are, and for $45 a month they'll call the police for you. And but yeah, so we start there. We start with a security system, but then um, just having a security system is not everything, because
Mm.
it takes time for cops to get there.
Sure.
In 2 minutes someone can walk away with $5,000 of the stuff easy.
Yeah.
And so we've got to make it hard to get in. And a lot of school buses are you don't need a key to enter the bus. They make it hard to get in from they make it easy to lock from the inside, but um, there's no way to get in from the outside if the bus is locked from the inside. And so they'll
Yeah.
leave it unlocked to make it easy for them to get in, but then um, it makes it easy for everyone to get in. So we'll be equipping a deadbolt to the bus door. We'll be installing a, uh, basically a back door into the bus, a secret hatch that's locked with a key fob that's accessible from the outside, but you can't actually unlock it um, without the wireless key. And yeah, just finding a way to make it a pain in the ass to get in the bus and also make it scary at the same time.
That's exactly what you want, though, right? Yeah. If you're thinking about security, that's a dual purpose that you would want. You would want to make it a deterrent, and also for anybody that isn't deterred by the initial steps, if they're going to go ahead and do it, you want to you want to make it so that they actually can't get access.
Yep,
So
exactly.
I want to, because I do kind of want to talk more about like what you do have planned for it, but I kind of think that the best thing to do is maybe walk it back a little bit before we get too ahead of ourselves. So
Yeah, let's do it.
how did you come to the conclusion that this is something that you want? Is this something that you've wanted to do for a while and have been planning on doing, or is this just something that
Yeah,
has occurred recently?
it's for a very long time. And for me, what I do is or what I did up until just recently is I imagined, all right, what would life, how great would life be if I didn't have to worry about paying electricity bills? How
Mm-hmm.
great would life be if there was no rent? How great would life be if there was no mortgage, no HOA? How great would life be um, if if I didn't have this mountain of debt on me that I had?
Mm-hmm.
And then I said, all right, now let's imagine just how great that is, and what am I willing to give up to get to that point?
Mm-hmm.
And the answer is I'm willing to give up quite a lot, and to get to that point. So I sold my home. I used the sale of my condo to pay off um, all of my debt except my student loan debt,
Mm-hmm.
and I used about half of the remainder to get this school bus, and then am currently renovating it, outfitting it with a lot of solar equipment, um, and which is incredibly fun. And but yeah, so for me, it's been a goal of mine to simplify for a very long time, and the reason for a bus is not you don't necessarily need a school bus to simplify. But I enjoy going camping. I enjoy hanging out with friends, and so if I could have a home that also doubles as a camper that I can go, to the Midwest my buds in anytime,
Hmm.
that's fantastic. Like that serves two purposes in, two birds, one stone. Is how I see that.
So it kind of stems, like, I actually really like where you're coming from the sort of origin point of this, the idea that life itself, and I think this is something that not a lot of people really kind of sort of ruminate on too much. I mean, it may be a passing thought, but not a lot of people really think about the both the problems, the stresses, the challenges, but also like the rewards and the fulfillment. That kind of
Mhm.
detaching yourself away from basically the monetary oppressed sort of society we live in. Um,
Yep.
and that seems to be kind of like where you are coming from, the idea of obviously not having the stress of debt, but kind of just not being dictated to specifically by institutions that primarily run on monetary values.
Yep. Exactly. Speaking my language.
Yeah, it's like it is extremely appealing, and I've thought about like how good it would be for me. It seems like such a challenge to undertake, though, and it seems like such an adjustment. I couldn't possibly do it now because I'm married, and I don't think my wife would go for it. But
Ha.
um,
Hey, never say
yeah.
never.
Well, no, this is true. You never know. But like, is there anything in particular that just kind of went from the idea to, okay, this is definitely something I want to do now? Is there something that like that happened, that occurred, that just kind of took it from thought to practicality, to rather than just sort of as a ruminating on the idea of, oh, this would be a great way to live, a great sense of existence, to being like, this is not what I want to do, but need to do. And I make an emphasis on the need, because there is a huge difference, which I think a lot of people tend to gloss over. But yeah, was there anything that sort of really sort of sparked the decision to make it a decision?
Like I think the decision, was made probably 4 or 5 years ago when I started ruminating on it.
Hmm.
It's just, you ruminate on things until you no longer ruminate on them, and yeah, so for me, like this is a big, giant, massive change. You can't really, there's no real knowing how something is going to turn out until you just take a leap of faith.
Sure.
And no amount of ruminating is going to get you to take a leap of faith. You just got to do it. And so for me, it was just the timing. Like to get kind of personal. Um, I my roommate and I, we're still friends, but we just we kind of fell apart while living in
Hmm.
the same home, and um, it got to the point, I guess, where it became like if I were to sell my condo 3 years ago, I would have felt like an asshole, kicking my roommate
Yeah.
out early, my friend, my buddy,
Hmm.
so having uh, that separation between us made it easier to take that leap.
Yeah, I can see that, because you don't have the well, I don't want to say the burden, but you don't have like the guilt of, as you say, like, if I wanted to do this, this is what I would have to do to make it happen. I'd have to kick
Mhm.
somebody that I like and care about out of their home, and sort of create a sort of fissure between us. Whereas if you don't have that situation, it makes it easier, because you just kind of, you've only got yourself sort of accountable for your decisions, I guess.
Exactly.
Mm. Okay, so the idea, I'm guessing, was always to be throwing yourself into off the grid living. Was it always a school bus, or was that just like an opportune thing that came along and was just like, this would be perfect?
The school bus was a couple years ago. I've been in the tiny homes and off grid living generally since 2013.
Uh-huh.
My buddy Zach, who had a tiny home company, Project Wosho over in North Carolina, he got me into the idea. And then over time, just the YouTube algorithm, it just started showcasing school bus tiny homes. I was like, huh, that's pretty rad. And like, let's live in a school bus. Like, why not? Like, that's so just wild and out there and cool. Like,
Yeah.
at the end of us, who cares if it's it's a receptacle you live in, as long as it's if it functions at home. The bus feature, I feel, is an added bonus. And so it's also speaking financially, like, I after selling my condo, I wouldn't have been able to pay off all of that debt that I did if I had went the standard tiny home route. Buses are super cheap. You can find like converted at like buses that are already converted anywhere from $5,000 to $20,000, and then way higher than that if you really want to get high end. But I bought this bus mostly converted for $8,500, and a tiny home. I would have probably had to have either taken out a loan to get one built, or I probably would have had to just not have any money left over after the sale of my house. They're more expensive. Buses are cheaper, and in my mind, they function just as well, and they can also move.
So just to clarify the presumably obvious, but because I've heard the phrase tiny home, and I think I
Mm-hmm.
may have seen images of them, but I'm not entirely sure. Is it just exactly what it sounds like?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
is
Exactly.
is it a singular room or is it a couple?
It depends. It's more the size of the space than the
Mhm.
actual amount of rooms that are in the home. Like, you can put up just some plywood, and just run it straight through, and hey, now it's a there's 2 bedrooms in that tiny home.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
Okay. Yeah. Like I'm just having a quick Google
they
now. I
they
see. Yeah.
they can't really be appraised. Like, if you were to sell,
Yeah. How does that work?
yeah, it's yeah, it doesn't get appraised like a regular house, so it's up to the tiny house company to put whatever price they want to on it, um, or you as the seller of the tiny home to say, hey, this is how I'm going to sell it. It'll have 4 1-by-1 rooms. if
Wow.
um, so yeah, there's not a not a ton of regulation um, in that, but a big part of that is because tiny homes are so hard to hook up to the grid to begin with. um, it's expensive to hook up a tiny home to the grid.
On the topic of hooking up to the grid, how exactly are you going to work with electricity? Is it all going to be run off the battery off the bus, or are you going to have like generate like this is the thing? This is why I need you on because my ignorance is just palpable. Is it going to be off a battery, or are you going to have like a generator running?
um, it's going to be off of well, both. I'm going to have
Okay.
I've got a solar powered generator
Ah, yeah.
on order, and I'm also going to get a battery. There's a couple ones I'm deciding between right now.
Hmm.
um, I'm going to go with the Giandel battery. But yeah, so we'll have both. We'll have a battery and a solar generator. I've also got a ton of power banks, which I refer to as energy cells. I like to feel like I'm in a video game. And but it's actually uh, so right now I don't have the generator or the battery just yet. So I'm running off of um, those energy cells. And so I've got a solar panel table that I got from GoSun, and so I put that out, and that charges a couple of the energy cells that I have, and then those can charge the rest. They can also run my fridge. They can run my solar cooker in the evening when there's no light out, and takes care of the. I also have a solar panel in my window, which is charging up one of my lamps right now. And so yeah, right now we're kind of just it feels like a video game, charging and recharging all these different things and figuring out systems. But it's like it's kind of fun. And in the case of emergency, like let's say down the line it's winter, there's days without sun. Having multiple energy cells, I can prioritize. Like I have one that I use for my Apple Watch and my AirPods. Those
Mhm.
are I'm considering non-essential items in case of emergency. So I would say, all right, now I have 5,000 extra milliamp hours. I can go towards my phone. And yeah, so it's easy to figure out my needs and adjust accordingly as the weather changes.
So you really are
Um,
thinking that far ahead to the point where you're sort of prioritizing energy source.
yeah,
I suppose I think
absolutely.
when you undertake something of this magnitude and you plan on making this your life, I suppose you really have to have foresight and kind of look at details that a lot of people may sort of skim over.
Yep, it's also like I'm gonna have a wood burning stove instead of a heater, and the reason for that is because let's say it's up in Oregon and it's freezing, and no solar power, got to get heat somehow, and wood burning stove requires no electricity, and so that can keep me alive and warm.
That's a good point. So you're taking into consideration different climates as well. Because I was going to say, like at times, is it going to be insulated or heated enough for you to kind of be able to be comfortable through colder climates?
Yeah, so the bus right now is insulated on the walls and the floors. The
Mm,
ceiling isn't insulated, and um, but I don't think from my experience in the bus so far, and I've been living in it for about a week now.
mhm.
It,
Oh, so you are actually in there now
yeah,
at the
yeah,
minute. Okay.
yep, I am, yeah, and yeah, but uh, but yeah, it is definitely very well insulated.
So with the electricity side, how are you going to do for water, like running water and such?
Yeah, so the property I'll be staying on has a running stream. It's a protected salmon
Ah,
habitat,
mhm.
actually, and so the company that I've gotten most of my solar equipment from, GoSun, they've got an Indigo campaign right now for a water filter, and it's solar powered water filtration unit, and so I'll just go down the stream and filter my water there during the summer, and then during the winter I'll collect rainwater and then filter that.
So that actually kind of leads me into something else I was going to ask you. So is the plan once you've got once the bus is all ready and well, I mean, yeah, once you've got it basically finished up to the point that you want it, is it going to be a static position or is this something that you are going to continuously travel? I presume that for work purposes, you're kind of going to want to stay static for the most part.
Yeah, this um, I imagine taking this out between 4 to 6 times a year and staying static for the most part. Um, but ideally, down the line, like we're talking 3 4 years, and what I'd like to do is I'd like to find a used ambulance for sale and convert that into a tiny home, and then that can be a little travel home. Have the big bus staying stationary, and then the
Got
little
you.
ambulance. But yeah, that's a few years down the line after I've got plenty of experience working on this thing.
Yeah, which I'm sure, like by the time you finish, you will have quite a bit of experience kitting
Yep.
out used vehicles. Is this something that you were learning a lot of this stuff on the fly, and that you're having to sort of really dive into territories that you've no experience in before in terms of renovating and applying stuff to the bus?
Um, yes and no. Like, this is actually my first vehicle
Oh, okay.
to begin with, and so on the mechanical side of things, virtually everything I learn is new. Um, but in terms of um, utilizing the space effectively, I've been the manager of a coffee shop, or
Mhm.
a couple coffee shops actually, and one of the things you do when you take over is you start to organize a store to make it operate better
Yeah.
and more efficiently.
So you're taking that experience that you've had from a managerial capacity and you as into this, you're sort of applying it into this as you have done in the past with, as you
Exactly.
say.
Like I've spent hours and hours and hours and hours and hours moving things around
Mhm.
at various coffee shops and plugging things in, trying different places, discovering new nooks and crannies, and yeah, it's just drawing on experience I've had there. But on, like I said, the mechanical side of things, everything is new to me.
But that's got to be kind of exciting, though, right? Because the fact that you have this big sort of consuming project, and I mean it's daunting because it's new, and because in certain areas you may feel like I'm a little bit out of my depth at first, or what have you. But by kind of just, as you say, start thinking about it and actually doing it, as you've done with the bus itself, it's the best way to, from my experience, the best way to learn is to just dive in. And sometimes you make mistakes as you're doing it, but at the
Yeah.
same time you learn from those mistakes, and then you kind of just, that's how I tend to learn best. I'm not a good theoretical learner. I've never been good at like absorbing stuff from textbooks. I'm better if I just throw myself in, make a bit of a mess, and then as I clean up, I'm like, oh, okay, so this is what I did wrong, and this is how you move forward. I guess a lot of that is what's happening from like a mechanical standpoint.
Yeah, like I'm getting a mechanic out here. Well, the first step is to find a mechanic, and it's the funniest thing. So buses are a pain in the pain in the butt, because most mechanics that work on buses specifically, they work for like companies, like, so if they're employed by like bus fleets, and so
Yeah.
they don't service individuals. And this bus, like most buses out there, is powered by diesel, and because of that, your average car mechanic that works on gasoline is not going to. What I've learned is that they won't have any clue what to do with the bus. However, mechanics who work on semi trucks will know, because semi trucks have a very similar frame, use the same engines, same diesel fuel, and semi truck mechanics are also mobile, because when a semi truck breaks down, it's often on a highway, and you can't just tow a semi truck. And so so that's my next task, is to find a semi truck mechanic, and get them out here to take a look at my bus and basically tell me what's up.
Nice. We should also at this point, because I don't think we've actually introduced the bus and its glorious name at this point.
We have not. No.
No. Would you like to introduce people to the bus and its formal identity?
Yes, the bus and its their formal identity is Ziggy Starbus.
And you didn't name the bus, right? This is an
I did
inherited
not.
name.
I wish I could take credit for the name. I wish I could, but yeah, the bus's former owner had David Bowie's giant eye painted on the back of the bus, and so you're driving down the freeway at 50 miles per hour, people behind you angry, and you're staring them down with a Ziggy Stardust eye.
That's pretty cool. Is it still
amazing?
there?
Like, it's still there. Yep.
I take it you're just going to keep it there.
Oh yeah, I'm not getting rid of that. Absolutely not. No. Like, even the cool thing is the artist. Here, let me go ahead and read her name. I don't want to mess it up, but it is on the back of the bus.
Okay.
Give her a shout out.
Sure.
Yeah. Muck Rock.
Muck
is
Rock.
Is her Instagram. But yeah, Ashley Muck is her name, and she's the one who did the art on the bus. And yeah, it is incredible. And holy shit, it is hot outside. Like, I thought it was hot in the bus. Like, I'm actually impressed at how cool, like, my little fan with the windows is keeping it. Holy shit, it's hot out there. Damn, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, I can imagine. So this is another question I have. How exactly did you acquire the bus? Is this was it just by chance? Did you know someone who put you onto this? Did you go hunting for buses? How exactly did Ziggy Starbus end up in your life?
Yeah, I went bus hunting. Well, so I was just keeping an eye on different Skoolie for sale Facebook groups, and all the buses that I was interested in, they were on the other side of the country, like, so in Florida, or they were too expensive if they were local. And so I just shot out a message to one of the Facebook groups, hey, if anyone has a Skoolie for sale in California or surrounding states for $20,000, and it has features X, Y, and Z, let me know. And then one person wrote back that with a link to a Craigslist post for her bus, Ziggy Starbus, and for $8,500. And then she was cool instantly, and we had like just an instant rapport. And Ziggy was still, even in California. I'm in Northern California. She was in Southern California, which is the other side. And so there was no visiting Ziggy before the purchase, and so it was kind of like another leap of faith. Um, but when I, made this purchase because she wanted to get paid for the bus before she took it off the market, so it makes sense. But
So it was kind of a case of actively seeking and then just the right time, right
yeah,
vehicle, sort of.
right time, right vehicle. Yeah, she is like the person who sold it to me. She was just so cool. Like I felt the vibe that she was not going to screw me over. Like it was just clear. And I knew nothing about vehicles. It's like looking back, it was probably a foolish thing for me to do, to just take a leap of faith on something I know absolutely nothing about. But it just felt right. Like, and that's the best way I can describe it. And so I Venmoed her the $8,500, and then she met me halfway, and with the bus, and then we drove with the rest of the other half.
We talked about the desire to kind of go into off-grid living and sort of live the Skoolie life, as it were, being a monetary-based thing. But you also strike me as a very ethical dude as well, in terms of like the way that you live. Because I know that, and we'll kind of tap into this in a minute, but you were a fruitarian for a time period, and I believe, are you still vegan?
I am still vegan. Yep.
Yeah, so you've always struck me as a sort of a very ethical living kind of dude, and that kind of seems to be, to me at least, part of the reason for your decision to do this, to kind of just cut away and go off grid living. Is that a fair assessment? Like, is that a part of the reason
It's
for it?
yes and no. But I only say no because I don't like to think of myself um, as an ethical dude. Like, because I think it's important that we keep our egos in check, and I think it's important that we understand that the role that luck can play in someone's quality of life and with their ability to do certain things. And so,
For sure.
if I go around and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm so good because I'm doing this, um, then I don't think that's good at all. I think that would be me.
Oh yeah, yeah. Don't get me wrong. I don't mean that in the sense that I feel like you are somebody that rubs other people's noses in it based on how you're not somebody, and you've never given me this impression of using your lifestyle choices as a measuring stick. Because to be honest, I have no time for people that do that. And if I got the even slightest smidge of inclination that's what you were like, or that was the type of person, we wouldn't be talking, because I cannot abide people who basically use certain lifestyle choices and ways of behavior as measuring sticks of morality against other people.
Yep.
So that's not what when I say you're an ethical dude, I don't mean it in that sense. I just meant that you are conscious, but not
Yeah.
preaching. You
Yeah.
are just living the life that you want to and feel benefits you and your surroundings, but you're not like shoving it down people's face saying, this is how you need to
Yeah.
do it.
And I'm not saying you were suggesting that. Like I understand that, but like I'm just letting you know my own thought process on why I don't even really entertain that discussion. Like because with myself, because it's I feel it's easy to start thinking you're all that if you start going down that path. And so I would just rather not. I just want to do the best I can for myself and the people around me, and in the best way I know how. And a lot of people have disagreements with what the best way to do things is, and I'm not the arbiter of that.
No, of course, unfortunately, you're always going to get people. And I imagine that even this far into your journey so far with Ziggy, that you've maybe come across, and I hope it's not the case because I just we don't need any more of this. But I imagine just because it is different and people are afraid of different, that you may have come into some sort of, even at best, sort of casual, like passive aggressive resistance from some people.
Oh yeah, but
Yeah.
that's nothing new for me. I get passive aggressive resistance from some people. Well, not during the pandemic when I'm not surrounded by people,
Yeah.
but every day of my non-pandemic life is passive aggressive resistance. So it's nothing new. I'm
Why do you
used to
think
it.
that is? Do you think it simply boils down to the fact that people are afraid of what's different, or do you think it runs a
Um,
little bit deeper than that?
I I think maybe a little bit of both.
Uh-huh.
Um, I think that like a very long time ago, well, not a very long time ago, like we're talking 5 years ago. Um, I took a vow of honesty. Just I found myself telling a lot of little lies that
Hmm.
made no sense in retrospect. Why am I telling these lies?
Yeah.
And even little lies turn into big giant lies because you have to cover them up because you don't want to admit to being a liar. And so
Hmm.
it just got to the point where I was like, all right, I'm going to just tell the truth in every instance. I'm not going to lie um, for any reason. Um, and and then kind of taking on that, being honest. I try not to be brutally honest, but unintentionally I am every now and again. Like I so casually just say what's on my mind that I say things that other people find a bit radical every now and again. And
Hmm.
but the funny thing is, like, if you were to go on my Facebook page and go down all my friends, the vast majority of them disagree with me on most things. Like um, I've gotten into fights with many of them, but they all know that I'm just telling the truth. Even if they disagree with me, they trust me, and so they stick around. Yeah, it's just a little niche I carved out for myself.
I think you tend to find that with a lot of people, they can be very reactionary to stuff, and sometimes, in fact, maybe a lot of the time, it's because they're hearing things that they necessarily don't want to admit or confront themselves. And so, because somebody else is doing it, it's almost like you're breaking the unspoken rule of, oh, we don't talk about that, or we don't say that,
Yep,
even though they may have very well been thinking about it for a long time themselves.
yep, that is very true.
So, I mean, it sucks that you that you've felt like passive aggressive resistance, but I guess it seems like you're kind of used to it, and it's just like water off a duck's back at this point, where you just
Well,
seem accepting that, yeah, okay, they just don't get it, and that's it. And are you at a point where you just have no interest in trying to convince them? You just
well, I watched Arnold Schwarzenegger's commencement address he gave recently, and he in that commencement address um, he talked about how the mind is just like a muscle. It requires resistance to grow,
mhm.
and so the more resistance one receives in their lives for their choices, the stronger they can become. And I'm not saying I'm strong or anything, but um, certainly resistance has made me a a stronger individual,
Mhm.
more confident in myself um, and my abilities. Like, yeah, I don't see resistance as a bad thing. I see it kind of as a necessary thing to keep me focused and centered.
Now, when you talk about resistance, are you talking about just simply, for example, walking away from a conversation that you just feel is futile to even enter, or like walking away from negative aspects or elements that you encounter because you just don't want to expend your energy into that, or you're talking about resistance in a different form?
I'm talking about resistance as in a different form, I guess.
Okay.
Uh, accepting resistance and fighting back, making your case.
Mm-hmm.
And when you do that, as I do with the Skoolie, the more you repeat yourself and the more you explain your ideas and the more you're forced to explain your ideas,
Mm-hmm.
the better you get at explaining your ideas. And
Sure.
it's and so I see, the passive aggressive resistance, because that's what we're calling it. I just see that as it's motivation for me to keep fighting on.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see it as a bad thing. I see it as, it's something very natural that's very human that we all have to endure.
Yeah. No, I totally get where you're coming from, and you've struck me for a while as a guy that isn't afraid to stand his ground when you believe in something. And if, correct me if I'm wrong, but you also strike me as somebody that isn't afraid to ruffle feathers from time to time.
I'm not going to correct you there.
No. Yeah, I had a feeling I was correct on that one, but I just wanted to leave the door open just in case. Um, what is it? Is that just because, like, where does that stem from? Do you think exactly that sense of like standing your ground and ruffling feathers from time to time? Is it just a case of opposing negative attitudes?
No, it's um, I think it goes back to that vow of honesty I told you about. Like,
Mm-hmm.
um, a lot of the times, I would find myself lying. It would be to get out of an argument. Make up some excuse, even if the excuse isn't real. And um, taking that away, that ability to tell a little white lie, makes it harder. Makes it harder to escape situations where you have to engage.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I think that all actions, there's a reaction to every action, and nothing is really self contained. And so yeah, everything I've done, um, to alter my, not alter, but develop my personality,
Mm-hmm.
um, over the past 5 years, and even longer than that, if we want to. Like I've always, I guess, like been a bit of a fighter. Like
Mm-hmm.
uh, um, I was diagnosed with epilepsy when I was 6, and
Okay.
or maybe 7. I think no, I was 6. Yeah, I was 6 years old. Diagnosed with epilepsy, and without fail, every single day, I fought my mother on taking my pills. I did not want to take those damn pills, and it was a constant struggle, for her, because she didn't want me to die as her child,
Sure.
didn't want me to have a seizure and all that, and so I was not an easy child, and so I guess if you want to prescribe my attitude, if we want to call it that, to anything, it could be my epilepsy diagnosis and my rejection of that from an early age. But
Mm-hmm.
but as far as standing my ground, um, I that's a standing my ground, like, to the very end. That's more of a new thing to me, and I think that's more related to, if I can't find a way to escape without lying, well, I'm not going to escape.
Do you is so the vow of honesty and that sort of commitment to that mentality is that more as a way of being um more honest to yourself and finding a sense of fulfillment by avoiding lies whenever possible?
Basically, yeah.
Yeah.
And but when, like, I have friends that aren't great friends that trust me more than their own great friends,
Hmm.
just because of who I am and how I've been. And that's it's become a very, very valuable thing in my life, and I don't want to. It's easy to keep on not lying, um, because it's something I don't want to give up.
Oh, for sure. I mean, as redundant as it may sound on the surface, it can be hard to tell the truth because there's more consequences, I guess, sometimes. But it seems
Mhm.
like you've found more fulfillment just in general since you've decided to take this vow of honesty.
Yeah, absolutely. No question there.
All right. I kind of wanted to dip back into something I touched on briefly, and that's your stint, because I believe you're not a fruitarian anymore, but you were at one point for a period of time, right?
Yep.
Okay, so how? So first of all, again, to sort of just extrapolate on the presumably obvious, fruitarian is a dietary. Would you refer to it as a lifestyle?
Back when I was a fruitarian, I called it a lifestyle. So
Okay.
I think it's one of those things where it's a lifestyle if you're in it, and it's a
Hmm.
diet if you're not.
That's a good way of putting it, actually. Yeah.
I got into that.
Yeah, I was going to say, how did you get into that?
I had been vegetarian for a very long time,
Mhm.
and you can put vegetarian in a quotes there because um, I was a vegetarian that didn't eat. I don't think I ate a single vegetable. Like not a one. Like my diet was mostly sugar. Like I ate cake, I ate Oreos, I ate Cadbury cream eggs. I ate the odd breakfast burrito with which was just tortilla shell and eggs and fake meat and like that was it. So I could barely be called I didn't eat any real meat, so technically vegetarian,
Yeah.
um, but I was super 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 unhealthy. I was um, very depressed,
Mhm.
and I needed to make I knew that I needed to make a change in my life, and I knew that at one point Steve Jobs had been a fruitarian, and at the time I looked up to Steve Jobs, and I was like, well, it worked out for him. How about I give it a shot? I didn't look it up. Like I didn't know what it entailed. Um, I just started eating fruit. And so that was just another one of those like leaps of faith. And but I kid you not, like everything about me was boosted um, the the next day. And yeah,
Do you mean like in terms of physical or just or like mental or both? Like you just felt like an overall shift occurred?
it's both. Like physically, I felt a massive shift. Like I had so much energy.
Mhm.
Like um, I felt like superhuman. Mentally, I was no longer depressed. Like just it went away just like that. I was so happy.
Mm.
Just eating fruit, and so I kept doing it, and then I finally eventually started doing research, and I found um, the website called the Fruitarian, and this guy Michael Arnstein, he was a ultra marathon runner, fruitarian, and so he would run 100-mile distances. And I had so much energy eating only fruit, I needed a way to get rid of that, and so I started running,
Mhm.
following his lead, and then went to the Woodstock Fruit Festival, and I met him in person and learned a bunch of things and became really jazzed with the lifestyle. And then I started up my own business. I moved to North Carolina, um, and the business was called Fruit Run, and it was a nonprofit um, designed around organizing 5K runs to get fruits and vegetables into food deserts in North Carolina.
Mm.
And I did that as executive director for a little while, got some attention, and then I moved to Costa Rica to start up a small business teaching kids entrepreneurial skills, and that turned out to be a gigantic mistake on my part. And
Why is that? Why what occurred for you to contemplate it as a mistake?
um, well, I was financially it was a mistake. It was a mistake in every which way. Like it was another one of those leaps of faith. So I got a call from this guy in Canada. I'm not going to name his name, but he said,
No,
"Hi,
sure.
I'm blank, and would I've seen the stuff you do. Would you like to move to Costa Rica and teach kids entrepreneurial skills?" And I was like, "Yes." of course.
Hmm.
Like, and my peers around me who actually didn't know the guy but knew people who knew the guy were like, "This is kind of sketch,
Yeah.
you recommend against it." And I was like, "No, like mine is set and going to Costa Rica." Um, and yeah, I was used, and I found myself homeless in a foreign country, and yeah, it wasn't very fun.
Yeah.
Um, let's just put it that way.
Mm.
And I emailed my mom and asked her if she could buy me a plane ticket home,
Mhm.
and she did. And so then I came home and got a job at Starbucks. And while at Starbucks, I worked. I usually work 7 days a week, um, multiple shifts on many days every week. And fruit has like a ripening schedule, and
Yeah.
my schedule at Starbucks was so chaotic that the its schedule did not mesh well with the fruit's ripening schedule, and so I had to stop
Mhm.
being a fruitarian. The fruit was yeah, just not. I couldn't. So yeah, I just became a vegan, and I've been a vegan since. I've tried to get back into it every now and again, but
Mhm.
it's uh it's one of those things. It's hard to do that second leap of faith all over again. Like I honestly don't think that I will.
I was gonna
But
say,
I think about it every now and again.
yeah.
And
Do you think that there's kind of like maybe a mental block in there because obviously it's done wonders for you. It's taken you out of your depression. It's given you energy. It's kind of given you a sort of resurgence in life. It seems, but it's also kind of led to a point in which obviously things didn't go particularly well. And do you think there's sort of like lingering memories attached to it, and that's why it's hard to get back into fruitarianism?
probably,
Hmm.
most likely yes, but I also don't. It's not something that I consciously think about that
Yeah,
often. So if there is a mental block there, it's more in the back of my mind.
sure.
But yeah, I've got only good memories of being a vegetarian, um,
Well, that's good.
of the lifestyle specifically.
Yeah. Well, I'm pleased to hear that. In terms of the lifestyle, for those of you who may be wondering, what exactly is a day like in the life of a fruitarian? Like, do you? And again, this is my ignorance on parade here, but do you comprise meals based around fruit, or is it just like little and often consistently throughout the day?
Um, it was not little and often, a lot and often, consistently throughout the day. Like
Hmm.
I think like imagine um just to use one single fruit, the banana. Um, like I would go on a bananas only diet for a month every now and again as like so it's called Banana Island, and basically like a kind of like a reset. But it was I ate basically 30 bananas a day every single day for 30 days, and that came out somewhere in the neighborhood of 3,000 calories worth of bananas every day. And
Hmm.
um, so to think about one banana as a serving, that's 30 servings of food in a day,
Sure.
or you can do like 15 servings of two. But yeah, or but a lot of fruit, like not a lot of fruit a lot of the time, and not small portions. Like I would literally like there's video I think on YouTube. I think it's on YouTube of me doing a smoothie, which is just 15 bananas blended together.
Wow.
Like that was a meal.
I gotta ask, is that actually, is that like, is this enough sustenance in there with that amount of bananas? Are you getting all the necessary sort of nutrients that you need? And also, is that actually good for inside? Is that, because that's like a lot of concentrated banana?
It is a lot of concentrated banana, but the but no, it if you actually were to look up um the the nutrition facts
Hmm.
of a single banana, you would find that it has at least some percentage of everything you need except vitamin D, um, and and B12. Those would be the two that you'd be missing.
Hmm.
And so um, just um, increase the amount of banana, and then you increase the amount of the percentage of your daily value that you're getting for each of those things. The one thing that people get worried about with bananas is the potassium.
Yeah,
They say, "Oh, would that be too much potassium?"
that's what I was thinking. Yeah.
And and I've done Banana Island 4 times, 30 days each time, and um, speaking from that personal experience, I felt better eating only bananas, having a simpler diet than I did eating a variety of fruits. And the reason that at least I was told that was because having only one thing makes it easy for the body to digest rather
Sure.
than breaking down all these different foods and separating them.
Yeah, I can get that. If your input is literally one thing, then your body is kind of like, oh yeah, we know exactly what we're doing with this. So yeah, it is perfectly feasible by all accounts to.
Yep.
Is it something you can sustain? Say for like if someone, and I mean I don't know how many people are gonna attempt this, or even sort of dip a toe into the fruitarian lifestyle. But if someone wanted to live a full calendar year on Banana Island, is that doable?
It's something that I plan to do that I never did.
Hmm.
And if I was still a fruitarian, I probably would have done it by now.
Hmm.
Um, but I want to say yes. But I don't think there's ever been a study on can someone survive on bananas alone for a year. It'd be fascinating study. I'd
Hmm.
love to know. I'd love to be the test
The
subject
guinea
there,
pig, yeah.
the guinea pig. But reality is what it is until it isn't. And I would never expect most people to become fruitarians, let alone
Hmm.
eat a mono fruit for a month, let alone a year.
Yeah.
Um, but when I was a fruitarian, when I was part of that lifestyle, um, I think a lot of fruitarians who found themselves in such a small minority of people, we were agenda driven almost. And so like and you can go back and look at my oldest YouTube videos, and you would see it pretty clearly. Like, I don't agree with my messaging at all today, but
Hmm.
back then I was very um, at least on YouTube, very what we talked about at the beginning of this podcast.
Hmm.
Like the measuring stick and that sort of thing.
Sure.
Like um, me and many other vegetarians that I know or knew, we we pushed it as almost like an ideology that had to be followed
Hmm.
almost existentially, and we acted as if one day everyone would be fruitarians or raw vegans.
Yeah.
And I think the only way you can really um, go hard on something for your whole life is to see things with that sort of ideological bent.
You mentioned your YouTube. Before we go, I kind of wanted to give that a plug because I know at the minute you are as you are going through the renovation of Ziggy, you're kind of doing documentation of it, which I've enjoyed a great deal, seeing inside of Ziggy, seeing what you've got planned. And I just wanted to say that that is available. If you guys listening have enjoyed this, which no doubt you have, you want to see the inside of Ziggy and how Tanner is getting on with his progress, where can people go for that?
The YouTube channel is called Tanner Bananner, and Bananner is spelled Bananner. And yeah, hit me up.
You definitely should. You should definitely go take a look. It's a fascinating project, one that has interested me since I first saw it pop up on my Facebook timeline. I've really enjoyed chatting
Thank
with
you.
you, man. This has been very insightful and very fun, and has just really sort of satisfied many curiosities I've had, as I say, since seeing the announcement of your project.
I really enjoyed chatting with you as well, Mal.
So there you go, that was my chat with Tanner Bananner, and yeah, talking about his amazing project about turning a converted school bus named Ziggy Starbus into a home, and all the challenges, all the insight, all the things, the trials, the tribulations, all the joy, all the possibility that comes with such a project. Yeah, I got to admit, there's been times in my life when I've considered going full Alexander Supertramp, but then I realised just how comfortable I am with my surroundings and situation. Yeah, I couldn't do it now, obviously, but yeah, at a point, the idea was very appealing. So yeah, absolutely. Kudos to Tanner for taking on such a thing, and for making such a change in his life. Not easy, by no stretch of the imagination, but I imagine there's going to be a lot of fulfillment for him along the way. At some point in the future, I have no doubt that Tanner will be back on the show. I would love to have him back to not only just get an update on Ziggy and how everything's going, but also just pick his brains over certain other subjects as well. There's a lot of stuff that I'd like to talk to Tanner about at some point in the future, so that just leaves room and an open door for him to come back at some point. That pretty much does it for this week. That is a wrap for this episode. Next week, we are going to be talking about all things Paul Thomas Anderson, because it is PTA's birthday, and we should celebrate. We should celebrate him regardless of his birthday, but I'm going to be doing a top 5 PTA films countdown. I've also got Dan from last week's episode to give me his top 5 PTA films. So yeah, next week is going to be all Paul Thomas Anderson. So if you're a fan of his work, make sure to check it out. If you're not, and you're thinking, my god, there's so much film stuff on this show, then yeah, there has been, admittedly, but we are going to be moving away from that. I'm not going to be talking about anything film related for a little while after next week. So yeah, if you are kind of on the fence about what's happening here with the show and you're wondering when are we going to move on from film, it's going to be the week after. I promise you we are going to have a slew of episodes that have nothing to do with film. But next week, it's going to be all about PTA. So again, if you're a fan, make sure to check it out and celebrate the man, his work, and his birthday with us here at Dimed Out. Before we go, if you have subscribed to the show, then first and foremost, thank you so much. You really are the cat's nightcap, and your support is making a huge difference. I genuinely appreciate it, whether you have subbed or you haven't. But if you haven't, now's the time to go fix that. It's real easy, and here's the kicker. It's doing yourself a favor. So if you think you're going to continue listening, go subscribe, and that way it just drops straight into your device. Easy flipping peasy. If you want to go the extra mile and help us out even further, you can leave a rating and a review. That is just, yeah, you do that, you get a gold star, and you get to wear like a tinfoil hat. That is a crown. Cause yeah, not an actual, no, scrap that. We'll make you a paper crown. Yeah, we'll get you a paper crown for that. Yeah, no one needs to be wearing any more tinfoil hats. There's enough of that already. If you want to take a sensible deep dive into the stuff that me and Tanner have been talking about, if you want to learn more about the topics that have been discussed on this episode, you can do so by heading over to Dimed. I'm not even going to cut that. You can head on over to the website, which is dimed-out.com, and look for the show notes for this episode, and you will see links, you will see portals, you will see doorways into magical realms of understanding, also known as web pages and videos and stuff like that. If you want to get in touch with me, then you can do that via the website as well. And yeah, let's try and get it right this time. dimed-out.com is the place to go to. God, I really wish just the domain with both words together was available, but it's not. So I've had to make this modified version, which is almost impossible to deliver. Anyway, Yeah, if you want to get in touch with me about the show, you want to say, hey, what's up, you want to leave suggestions, comments, recommendations for topics to cover in further episodes, whatever it is, you can do so at dimed-out.com, or you can do so via the Facebook group, or you can get in touch with me on Twitter at @IamMalFoster. Before my voice goes full-time Tom Waits, which admittedly I actually wouldn't have a problem with, but before that happens and so you can go along with the rest of your day and your life, that is it for this episode. I do sincerely hope you've enjoyed it. If you want to get in touch, please do so. And yeah, look after yourself, guys. Look after those around you. And until next time, keep it dimed.